What do women really want? You can't scroll far on social media or sit through a dinner party without hearing someone joke or comment about penis size, either bragging about how large their partner is or complaining about a lackluster experience. But let's pause and ask an honest question. Do women really want a 12-incher? I'm Dr. Emma Blake. I'm a board-certified urologist and sexologist, and today we're cutting through the myths and noise. I'll walk you through the actual research, not opinions, on what women really prefer when it comes to penis size. And the findings might surprise you. Let's begin with a few clever studies that approach this question not by asking women what they say they prefer, but by analyzing what they actually buy. Researchers looked at best-selling sex toys on the market, particularly those intended for vaginal insertion. The assumption here is simple. What women choose to purchase and use may reflect more honest preferences than verbal reports, which are often influenced by social pressure or bravado. So, what did they find? Across 8 major sex toy distributors, the most commonly purchased insertable lengths ranged between 4 to 6 inches. Let me say that again, 4 to 6 inches. Even more telling, on 6 of those 8 websites, the average length of the best-selling toys was less than 6 inches. The average girth? Less than 4.5 inches. That's remarkably close to the average size of a natural erect penis. If you're unsure of what that average actually is, I cover that in detail in a separate video, but here's the short version. Most men fall between 5 and 6 inches in length when erect, and around 4.5 to 5 inches in circumference. That is entirely normal. Another study looked at realistic dildos, again, focusing only on those labeled as best sellers from the top 5 adult retailers in the United States, as well as Amazon. In this case, the average insertable length was about 16.7 centimeters, or 6.5 inches. That's slightly longer than average, but not by much. And this gives us a little insight. Perhaps some women are curious or experimenting with something just above average, but few are seeking extremes. Now, this is a clever way to explore preferences, but there's more. Another group of researchers analyzed what drives the popularity of certain toys. And here's where things get even more interesting. They found that price and circumference had a much bigger impact on purchase behavior than insertable length. In other words, many women cared more about affordability and a comfortable fit than they did about maximizing size. In fact, toys with a larger than average girth were often less popular than average-sized ones. So what does all this tell us? It suggests that when given complete freedom to choose any size, most women still opt for something that's average in length, maybe slightly longer, and average in girth. It's not about extremes. It's about comfort, pleasure, and what works for their own bodies. This is very different from the media narratives we've all heard, but it's grounded in data, not fantasy. Bottom line, if you fall within the average range, which the vast majority of men do, you're more than fine. You're normal. And more importantly, you're perfectly capable of satisfying your partner. Yes, there will always be outliers. People who make jokes. People who talk in extremes. But when women make private choices for their own bodies, when no one is watching, they overwhelmingly go for average. And that's worth remembering. If you found this reassuring, let me take a moment to invite you to explore one of my earlier videos where I dive into a fascinating study. It showed that women who tend to reach vaginal orgasms report a slight preference for longer penile length. But again, we're talking about modest increases, not extremes. And while we're on this topic, I want to remind you of something even more important. Sexual connection is about far more than measurements. It's about confidence, communication, and emotional intimacy. And for many men, building that confidence starts with knowledge, not comparison. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they are more than enough. And most of all, take care of yourself, because you are absolutely worth it.